Eugene and Dylan's Guitar Show. I'm Eugene Edwards over here. That's Dr. Dylan Caligiuri right over there.
Hey there.
Welcome. We're going to do a quick deep dive on Life in the Fast Lane by the Eagles. So some of you may have noticed that in the promo, like an Instagram on the story or whatever, I didn't actually use the Eagles recording because that's not available on the Instagram, apparently.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
it's not.
Those dudes are really, really tight-fisted.
Boy, they're not screwing around.
They're not screwing around. I'll talk about screwing around. It was toasty here in Los Angeles. This is like the Kathy and Regis portion of the show.
Yeah.
So it was really toasty in LA today. We had like a proper hot day.
It was 80-something degrees.
And so my daughter and I, we went. She wanted to swim laps for exercise. I thought, well, I should probably swim.
Where
some
do you
laps
do?
too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, I did in Gliselle Park. There's a pool in Gliselle, and it was crowded. There's lots of people swimming laps. Now, there was an older couple retired, and we were commenting on how crowded it was. And by the way, this is like at noon.
That's what older couples do.
On a Wednesday. So the older lady, she says, she's in the pool, and she says, I guess no one works anymore.
No.
And she says, well, we're retired, meaning she and her husband. And
including her.
But it's people of all ages. So then I felt I had to defend myself, and I said, I'm a musician, ma'am.
She's like, well, so you've never worked.
And she says, so what do you play? I said, I play guitar. And I said, but I have to fly out tomorrow.
She's like, okay.
Right. I have shows. I'm a working musician.
Okay, yeah.
And she says, my husband, he wants to learn how to play guitar. So the older guy, he comes over to me, and we're standing at the pool, and he says, and I said, you can learn. It's not that hard. Just grab one. And he says, do I go online? I said, there's a lot of great sites online.
Sure.
From which, and of course, I suggested a paid subscription one that you and I used to work. I said, you know what? There's one with tons of lessons on there.
Sure.
Start a beginner, and he said, acoustic? I said, acoustic or electric?
Why not?
I said, mister, it really doesn't matter.
No.
It's 6 strings. They're tuned the same. A D chord's a D chord. Just get going. And I'm explaining this, and my daughter, who's finishing one of her laps, comes to the edge of the pool. She's in the water. She looks up. She's hearing what I'm saying to the guy, and she says, at the top of her lungs, guitar virgin?
Well,
I have no.
in the 40s you could, but not.
Yeah, now I can't do anything.
You can't really.
The kids are empowered. Anyway, that's my cute guitar story for the day. Hey, no, we didn't have a drummer count us in, but we are doing Life in the. By the way, so Life in the Fast Lane, real quickly, inspired by Randy Meisner had to go get renew his driver's license at the DMV. No, that's not.
No, that is not it.
Glenn Fry was in a sports car going 90 miles an hour with a drug dealer, and the guy said, and Glenn says, "Do you want to slow down? Because we're holding like a lot, and we're gonna get pulled over." And the drug dealer, he says, "It's Life in the Fast Lane," and Glenn says, "Well, if I live, that's a good song title."
Now that's a possible story, though.
No, that's what Glenn has said over. And then Joe Walsh was new to the band. They bring him in 75, 76 because, they need some rock edge. And so they contrived it basically because they're the Eagles. And Joe Walsh had this lick as a warm-up. He's backstage in a dressing room warming up. You hear this.
Oh.
And Glenn Fry, being the quarterback he is, hears that. And comes in, what are you doing? And Joe says, it's a warm-up. And he says, that's actually a song. So they they flesh out this riff. Henley essentially writes a major portion of the lyrics.
You can tell, by the way.
You can tell because it's really good.
He writes really
good.
It's
detailed. It has tons of meaning. And loosely based on Lindsey Buckingham, Stevie Nicks, although I don't think that rumor is true for whatever reason.
Really?
That was always the thing I'd heard, but
well, there's a lot. This is one of those songs, if you try to sing it, guys, there's a lot of lyrics in this song.
He's cramming words.
It's a hard-headed man. He's brutally handsome. He's terminally ill. And it's like, you're like, wow, okay, well, so there's timing, and I got to pay attention to this.
You got to pay attention.
Yeah.
So we've got this. Now, can you tell us about this? This is a minor, E minor pentatonic, basically?
Well, even outside of that, let's say you're just, because I think that's both important and not important.
Should I go to your camera yet?
Oh, wow. Yeah, let's see what happens. I'll play it for... Oh, look at that. That's beautiful. Yeah. See if I can get in there.
Good. Talk riff, dude.
So basically, if you guys look at this riff, there is the first half of it. Okay. Then there's a truncated B, right? So that was little A. That's the little B. Also a great rapper name, by the way.
That is good.
So you have little A. So
Kind of
little
all
A.
the same notes, but they're just played at a different rate.
They're played at with like a truncated sort of everything's a little bit sped up and fed differently. So we have a tambourine play over there, just trying to cut in. But Rex, God,
it's not a Motown song,
get
dude.
you into council. See, that's the truncated part right there, right? So it's got a different little B section.
At the top of the song, Chris, we hear that lick, and then it's doubled at an octave higher.
That's right.
Pretty smart idea. It just kind of thickens up the mood a little bit before the rhythm section drops in.
Yeah, notice they do it once without the double, and then once with the double, and that gives it a really like kind of like something's changing. And you when you're listening to music of a certain era, every 4 bars something's getting added or removed.
So Glenn Frey has a lot to do with the arrangement of this song. He's credited as a writer, and I think a lot of it comes from the idea that, well, first of all, he heard the lick and said that needs to be worked into an actual song.
Because it's a pretty interesting lick.
It's a really interesting lick. You mentioned something earlier too, is like the way the rhythm of the song overall. It's more disco.
It's disco. It's got 4 on the floor going
and
on.
So it is funky to the point where in the verse, one of the guitars is playing an E9. You hear which we basically know from like this is like a James Brown, that voicing right there, but it's played real scratchy. You hear a lot of and Joe Walsh does a lot of these in the verses. There's just a lot of noise.
Isn't that the sound of something opening? That's like the sound when an iPad turns on or something,
like
isn't
a
it?
drug dealer's gun going on.
Yeah, right.
And so in it, and also in the verse, it's I don't know. I should know. Is it a formal 12 bar? Feels like a 12-bar blues in the changes. It's not like shuffling along like a normal blues does. But the 1 chord of E, but for 4 bars, or 8 bars, and then it goes to 4. Back to the 1. And the 5.
16 bars.
Oh, Dylan, show him that one before we get to the chorus.
Which one?
The one over A, this ascending thing. Frets fingers?
Good. So you've got an A. This is an A over D, so picture a D chord here. And then this is just missing the 3rd. This is actually what we're going over in the Till lesson here in just a minute. So,
which, by the way, we'll see you in the workshop in about 15 minutes, by the way. And that's really cool because there's this sense that when they do that over that 4 chord, there's this kind of there's this rushing up feeling, this ascendancy.
yeah.
Like it's anticipating something. Then it lands on the chorus, which goes back to the riff because everything's really centered around the riff. In fact, you could almost make a case that it's almost like the vocals are responding to the call of the lick in the chorus.
This whole song is just totally lick oriented.
Yeah.
I mean, it's it's as much lick oriented as like a as something like that. From the day I was born. You know what I mean? Like it's just totally
Also, which really, in terms of the recording of it, if you listen closely, Glenn Frey is playing a clavinet underneath there. It's just this, which is a keyboard.
I believe it.
The one you'd hear at the top of Superstition by Stevie Wonder. That's a clavinet, and of course this lends to the disco funk thing. It's just close. It's
you know what though? The song
song
sounds really good as a 4-piece, and as a 5-piece with one other guitar, it's like perfect.
You could still pull it off.
In fact, I think it might be better. I'm not gonna lie.
So now let's talk about. But back to this call and response. You've got Don Felder, who's like a very specific. Now I know guys who've played with all these guys.
Yeah.
So I speak from just sort of like this is second or third hand.
Sure.
Second hand, third hand. Anyway, but Felder can repeat anything verbatim. Like once he has a part, he's like a technician. He comes up with great parts, and then he has no problem repeating it precisely. Joe Walsh, not
so
so
much.
much. He's a much looser player, and he's what we call a feel player.
Yeah, he's like
even though he knows everything about the fretboard,
Yep.
but tons of feels. So it's interesting that on this first album that they're working together, 1976, the Hotel California, they're already doing, they're trading off. And so in the solo, and this is what I love, in the guitar solo, I love songs that have a brand new chord sequence only for the instrumental section or for the solos in this case. It doesn't happen all the
would be a
time.
great example.
But Beat It does that. All My Loving, actually, by the Beatles, has a slightly different chord arrangement. There's really good. So this one, they're going to go from the B chord to the D chord back and forth. And it seems as though, at least live, Felder plays the first lick over B. Then Joe Walsh and his slide takes over for the D chord. So you're gonna do the Felder part. So I'm gonna count us in. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. Keep going, because then there's a second line that comes over this. Then the bass plays a harmony. Then we're into the third verse. So what happens there? So it's not kind of nice. This B to D thing is happening. The slide shows up, which we haven't heard before, and pretty cool. You don't have to detune.
It's great slide work too, by the way.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Don't have to retune for this. Walsh seems to stay. He's either in an open E or he's just standard tuning. But he does this really cool, again, moving up to create this kind of going out of control, almost a Looney Tunes vibe.
Yeah.
And then it edits. It cuts it right to right when he reaches the E major triad. Stop, and we get to this very, very.
It's just supposed to sound like Slow Ride, I guess, or something.
Or it's a Stones thing, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go tight shot of you playing.
So
that's out of a G shape E major at the 9th fret.
This would be like A.
Oh yeah. And no, but here's what I want to point out about that is a very E major pentatonic thing to do. So the riff, we've mostly been dealing in this E minor pentatonic, right? This G natural and the flat 5. It's E minor pentatonic, clearly. And then at this point, that lick that comes in that, it's just so E major that you really feel an emotional shift, like something has happened here, at least harmonically, and then they just drop right back into and this especially. That's the root 6/5. That's a very, very major E major type of thing to do, and then they just fall right back into the E minor or the E minor pentatonic for the last verse and chorus. We should probably take a. I don't know. We got some. I don't know. Do we have questions, comments? I would like to see Joe Walsh as their guest. Okay,
that works for me.
Work
Yeah,
on
let's do
that.
it.
I'll work on.
So we have a phone number.
You know, he's Ringo Starr's brother-in-law, so maybe we get through to him via Ringo.
Okay, yeah. Is he really?
Yeah,
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. They're married. They're both married to the Bach sisters. Michael Storm says Joe Walsh is a beast. Saw him tear the roof off of the Forum with. Oh, you saw the James Gang.
Wow.
Oh, at the Taylor Hawkins tribute last year. Oh, that's sweet. Yeah, James Gang they were rad. We'll probably do a deep dive on a James Gang. So,
yeah.
That's the thing about Joe Walsh. There's so many cool riffs, and by the way, he does this a lot in a lot of his classic tunes. He goes between the major pentatonic and the minor pentatonic at will. And in Life in the Fast Lane, it's a really, really great study. Try just ear training. Try and see if you can recognize when you're hearing or feeling the minor pentatonic and when you're hearing the major pentatonic. In fact, even I think it's in verse 2, you're doing that. And you hear this, which pretty sure we heard that lick in Life's Been Good at some point. But in fact, I'll show you.
That was definitely a Joe Walsh trick.
It's a very country thing to do, right? So it's a bend at the 11th fret on the G, and then you fret the 9th fret of the high E. then 12th fret B, then come out of the 11th
It's a
fret.
pre-bend.
Resolve on the root. Very, very, very Joe Walshy.
Yeah. Yeah, that did come to be his sound, didn't it?
Oh, I think so. John Waby says, thinking of Zeppelin's "Bring It On Home," the way it doubles up an octave, and maybe Kravitz, "Are You Going to Go My Way?" Well,
Oh, yeah. That's
"Bring
a
It
great,
On Home"
great,
actually.
great idea there, John.
"Bring It On Home" is interesting because it is up an octave, but it's not playing an octave. That's actually playing a harmony. Do you know that lick? Well, all I can hear is "Life in the Fast Lane."
But bring it on home, yeah. Bring it on home. Bring it on home. Does that help you?
Somebody sing "Bring It On Home." Somebody out there at home sing the "Bring It On Home" lick.
And it'll get through to us. Well, so
So it's actually playing most like a major third above a harmony, but an octave above. Yeah.
So it's a third.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's a third, like an octave
All the way
above.
through,
Yeah.
which is really, really hip. But "Are You Going to Go My Way?" I believe that one probably. That's an octave above.
Yeah.
That's a full octave. But good ears, John. I
Yeah.
appreciate that, man. That's a really, really good call. Way to go. Let's see here. I just want to remind you in about a little less than 10 minutes, we're going to sign off. We're going to start our session for the workshop for the developing guitar player. I should say Dylan has some really cool stuff planned. Today I'm just going on for a ride. But we had a great session a couple weeks ago. Actually, this was a real fun one where we went over different chord symbols or chord names that we see online when we see just like kind of chord charts like on Chordify and stuff like that. You know, sometimes you just see a bunch of letters and numbers. I was like, what do those mean? We did a session on trying to just debunk or demystify or make those chord names a lot less scary because they're really nothing really to be frightened about. Slow it down. Okay, I don't which the whole thing, sir.
Who knows? There was the maybe it was the
Funk 49. That's the one I would like to. That or Life's Been Good would be really good deep vibes, dude. Yeah. Oh, so we should talk tones. On the guitar that we hear on Life in the Fast Lane, the main lick, it seems as though starting in 76 and even during the Hell Freezes over until now, when Walsh plays the songs, he's always using a Strat.
I see a
on
Strat
stage.
every time.
And it really does sound, especially.
It sounds like a Strat.
Especially
Yeah.
it's very, very out of phase.
I mean, you can get that with a Telly, but you can tell it's a Telly trying to do it. You can't.
When you do, when you
it's
do
not
it that way,
really-
yeah, it kind of has a nice rattle. But Joe Walsh said this exercise, this little warm up thing he was doing, it's for right hand and left hand coordination. So isn't that lovely? Think about Joe Walsh, who has a road case for his chainsaws in order to tear up hotel rooms.
Did he already have it then?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and I knew their front of house guy back in the 70s, and he he could actually he actually knew the name and number of that case because it went on the
But even when he just joined the band, he already had the case.
No, they made it for him for that first tour with them.
See, now that's sort of enabling.
Sort of.
It feels.
That was the 70s were the enablement decade, sir.
It seems like if you're going to break things, that you should at least have to carry the things to which you will use to break them.
So this is
No, I mean,
he wrote
is there
a song.
stoic principle in there?
He wrote a song, "Life's Been Good." It's about how he's been enabled, essentially.
You know, and yet
It's an oddly honest song at the time.
he's like, his mindset is so open and kind of free that he's not. For one thing, he's still alive, probably because of that. Because he's had such a great mindset.
Maybe.
He seems like a really nice guy.
I've
actually.
always heard great things.
Yeah.
In fact, there's a very, very funny story. A friend of mine said someone went up to him on an airplane, right?
I met him once. He was very cool.
Joe was in first class, and this guy is some musician guy. And he said, "Hey, Joe, nice to see you." And he said, "My name's blah, blah, blah." We met, and then it was years and years ago.
And
right?
he knew who he was.
No, Joe did not.
Oh.
Joe didn't pretend.
Not how that
In
story
fact,
went.
no, it's not. The guy just says, "Hey, Joe, I'm blah, blah, blah. We met back in 1983 at the blah, blah, blah." And Joe just looked at him and said, Was I nice to you?
Yeah.
And they said, yeah, you were great. And Joe goes, oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's a very honest response. Yeah, he has accountants that pay for it all. It's in Life's Been Good.
Oh, is it really?
Thank you, Dave, for...
That's right. It says that in the lyrics.
It's in the song. I have
I
accountants
forgot
that pay
about
for it
that.
all.
Also, that song is awesome, by the way.
It's
The
great.
funky like weirdness and the reggae to
C
back
major
to
and A major and all
like-
that. That's a deep dive waiting to happen, guys. But he has been clean and sober for a very... In fact, he's now the good-looking member of the Eagles.
I would imagine. So he
Joe
must
Walsh.
have been a big like Edgar Winter fan, right?
Why do you say this?
Because there's a lot of like Edgar Winter vibes going on with that guy.
Can
There's
you be a little more...
winterisms? Do you want me to?
Well, no, less platitudes, but more like what
Frostiness.
Like there's like a strong. There's like they play like behind the beat. There's a
Oh.
lot of minor pentatonic. Give
like
me some-
approach, tone, pinching. It could be the other way around. Maybe Edgar Winters likes Joe Walsh for all we know.
Maybe,
But
and
like,
Joe Walsh, yeah, Joe Walsh is like a hot shot out of Cleveland in the late '60s, like
Right.
like in the James before the James. I mean, it's kind of known as like the big trio out of the Midwest.
Yeah.
you know? Like Billy Gibbons had Texas.
yeah,
Hendrix had kind of the world basically.
right.
And it was always this talk about Joey Walsh out of Cleveland. He was that guy.
It's just like because his influences, you can almost it. We always say this in audio. You can hear the person's room that mixed the song.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah, and
That's great. I
You
like
can
that.
totally hear like the influence from childhood on. And I guess Edgar Winter wouldn't be old enough to be this guy's influence, really, because if he came up in the '60s, I think
Kind
Frankenstein.
of around the same. Yeah,
Yeah.
They're, I would think
They're
kinda
contemporaries.
but very riff rock.
Yeah.
So that's actually what I'm thinking.
That's
like,
kind of what I'm
they
thinking, though.
think in riffs.
Yeah.
I think, and then they kind of have everything.
And
working
if you
around
guys notice, a lot of our favorite guitar players are riffers. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah,
Like whether it be Tom Morello to whomever.
Oh,
Like they're
speaking. Oh,
Go
there's
ahead.
one more thing before we lose time. So they do a third verse and a third chorus, and then there's this stop where they kind of throw phalange on everything. The life in the fast lane.
Yeah, that
They do
one's-
that. This is because the lick. Watch how the lick that it's gonna fit over some chords. They're gonna change chords, but the lick won't change. So they're first gonna play it over an E5, then a power chord, then a D5, then a C5, then an A5. But Dylan's not going to change a thing. The world's going to revolve. It's going to move around him. Watch this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Life in the fast lane. Now here's over a D.
Not yet.
Now over a C.
Life in the fast lane.
Now over A. Life in the fast lane. Now we just go out on E. Now watch this very major thing right here. This. Sorry. That's a very major pentatonic thing to do. And then you're going to hear minor pentatonic again. So dive into each lick and just kind of notice how this move between major and minor is kind of this really, really nice. There's a duality going on, man.
And the
Pretty
tone
heavy stuff.
differences, they're also panned to the left and right.
That actually makes
That always helps.
It's a really good. It's a really successful mix. I think it's
Look at
Bob
that.
Ezrin, but what happened?
Look at that.
Are we frozen?
No. It's just that's how it.
It's
falls.
just Sieg Heil. What are you doing?
No, I'm.
What's with your arm?
I just-
oh, okay. Don't
it's
don't
not-
pause it when you're
Yeah.
doing that. It scares
It's
me. We're
even
gonna
better.
get canceled. That's
Hey, you
better.
guys! Thank you so much. Great job. Thanks for being here today, and I hope you can join us on Till here in just a moment.
Yeah, please just hop in. You don't have to have been at the previous sessions. You can just drop in.
That's right.
And start learning stuff and start asking
Drop it
questions.
like it's hot.
And we love to make sure that your hand's in the right position, all sort of fun stuff. So we're going to go out of here. We're just going to go out another Joe Walsh, man.
You want to do the key switch on? You want to.